Why add another story to all the recollections of September 11th, 2001, particularly the people whose lives were changed forever? Mine wasn't. But I know where I was on that day. I saw the planes hit the towers. I saw the towers fall from my apartment in Brooklyn. I was home with my infant twins, waiting for my wife to get home. She'd taken our 3-year-old twins to their first day of preschool. They walked home through a cloud of ash and debris and smoke that had crossed the water from Manhattan to Brooklyn. But compared to the people in those buildings, next to those buildings, with loved ones inside those buildings, I watched it all from afar. And my memories of those days are such a blur. But my memory of the day before, on Monday, September 10th, those memories for some reason are perfect, crystal clear, like a little movie. It was a first day back at work, crispy air and a day for shaking off the summer, crowded subways and highways. Everybody, it seemed, that day was getting back to business. I had a new shirt on, a new plan. More exercise, right. How about tennis for lunch? That was my new plan for the office. Get some exercise, sharpen the mind to compensate for the pointless, dreary, tawdry stories that summer about true crime and shark attacks and Chandra Levy, the murdered congressional intern, and the Congressman Gary Condit she was supposed to be involved with. Sharks, slimy congressmen, and some blown-up Buddhist statues in Afghanistan by some wackos called the Taliban. Those are the big stories, summer of 2001. So to deal with all this, I'd come up with this elaborate plan to bring a second sports wheelchair to my office in Midtown Manhattan. And then at lunch, we'd found this subway route with elevators to Roosevelt Island right over here, where there were these fantastic tennis courts. We can do this, I said. I actually strapped the wheelchair to my lap as I spoke to my coworker. I mean, I look completely ridiculous, but here was my speech. We're going to go play tennis. We're going to work out. No more sitting around the office complaining. No, sir. We're going to come back, be ready for anything. Great plan, huh? The fluffy clouds that day, the blue sky. Some idea that you can take control. This time it's going to be different. Back in the saddle. This year it's going to be different. These are those tennis courts. I can remember those details of starting anew. I guess it was a grabbing a hold of my life, sort of a New Year's resolution thing. And then the very next day, Tuesday, all dressed up and ready to go to work, take on the world. All plans dashed. I sat in my new suit, a new shirt, rocking my babies until my wife got home. I spent hours getting back into Manhattan that day, and have spent much of the past decade reporting on one or another of the consequences of September 11th. It's unimportant, really, my disrupted little hill of beans. But everywhere in America, that promise of a late summer back-to-work Monday became the shock of the Tuesday when everything changed. I've never been back to these tennis courts. Never even tried to. It was that sense of control that crashed with those planes. An American feeling, rare in the world, really, that we are in control, and of course we're not. We learned it on September 11th, and then later in Iraq and Afghanistan. How about during that recession business, perhaps? The new sense of powerlessness in Washington? Is that another echo? It's a small thing, but it's also a really big thing. Maybe bigger than the towers, bigger than the planes, bigger than all the armies that came after. The quiet shock and awe of what America collectively lost on September 11th, 2001. And you can go to Ground Zero, you can go to that new memorial and look at all the names, all those people whose back to school, back to work energy was snuffed out, all their plans lost forever. And you won't find anything written about the American sense of control that was destroyed when those planes went into the buildings. But then maybe it doesn't have to be written there. Maybe it's obvious now. It's part of reality.